All right, guys, we're here. We're doing it again. So this is the intro to the intro of the video you're fixing to watch with Jake from the Texas Whiskey Festival. And the reason I wanted to come in here and talk to you for a minute, for one, let's say cheers, always. But for two is because the Texas Whiskey Festival is going on April 20th of this year, 2024, from 4:30 to 10 p.m. Now, if you have early access tickets, that's 4:30. But general admission, I think it's 5:30 or 6. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, if you are going, it is going to be in Bee Cave, Texas, which is right outside of Austin at Star Hill Ranch. A very amazing place. Get your tickets now, right now, at TexasWhiskeyFestival.com. That's it. It's fairly easy. This was an amazing talk that we had, Jake and I. I really enjoyed it, and he's an amazing person doing amazing things for Texas whiskey. For Texas whiskey, we need more forerunners for Texas whiskey. We've had a lot of amazing Texas distilleries on, but we need forerunners for the Texas whiskey, pushing the Texas whiskey forward. So I hope you enjoy. It's a banger for sure. Just be prepared. We're doing cool things, and we're sipping on some good stuff. It's amazing. Y'all need to get out there, try you some Texas whiskey. I don't care if it's Balcones, Andalusia, Rebecca Creek. Get you some. Get you something. Get you some, and let's get going. So enjoy the show. And thank you again to all the channel members. Thank you to Z Smith Whiskey and Mixology. Thank you to Bad Motivator Barrels. I'm constantly singing your praises. You guys are amazing people. Go check them out. There's always a pinned comment or a link down below for them. And thank you to the patrons. Without you, this thing wouldn't run as smooth as it does. And I appreciate you all for it. And if you would like to get this, the patrons have already seen this episode. Yeah, they've already seen it in video. They've already seen this. So they're getting upfront stuff. They're getting cool things. In the next couple of months, probably the next 2 months, I'm going to be sending out blind samples. I said it. I know. I'm sorry. I said it already. I'm going to send out blind samples, and we're going to do a Zoom, and we're going to go through those samples. It's going to be really fun. So if you want to get in on that, head over to patreon.com/the Whiskey Shaman, obviously. So until next time, enjoy the show, and thank you. And keep your spirits up. All right, guys, welcome back. Today we got a very special guest. I say that every time, but I mean it. Today we got Jake Clements with the Texas Whiskey Festival, Texas Whiskey Trail. Awesome dude, whiskey sommelier. Did I miss anything?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Anyway, here's Jake, and we're gonna talk about whiskey, Texas whiskey mainly, but we're gonna go get all over the place with it. And we're both sipping on a little something here. And without further ado, here's Jake.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I always enjoy an opportunity to talk to a fellow whiskey fan, especially about Texas. So, but so what I am sipping on is the unbent straight bourbon from Bent Distilling up in Louisville, and they are making some great stuff. By the way, if you haven't checked them out, single malt rye bourbon. They have a wheat whiskey. They've got some other stuff in barrels that they're going to be putting out, but check them out. Just so everybody knew.
Yes. Well, to let everybody know, I am drinking the Still Austin High Rye Bottled and Bond. That was the only little sample I had in the shed, besides another little one. So, and thank you, Old Fashioned Ways, for sending me that one. So let's start at the very beginning. Where were you born? No, I'm joking. Not that far back. What got you?
Texas.
Yeah, exactly. What got you into whiskey? And what obviously whiskey isn't everybody's first choice. It might be some people's, but not everybody's first choice. So what kind of give us a little bit of backstory on that?
So, man, for the longest time, I drank nothing but beer, and then with some tequila mixed in. I liked tequila on ice, and this was 2014. I'd come in from a meeting. I was still in corporate America. Came in from a meeting. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning. My boss handed me this glass. Well, it was like one of those styrofoam cups. Had ice in it and obviously something brown in it. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, let me go. I'm going to go sit down at my computer. So I had this glass with me. And at the time, I couldn't stand whiskey. The only way I could drink it is it had more Coke than it did whiskey. Absolutely. So I walk into this other room and I set my computer down, my bag down, and I was like, Lord, please don't let me throw up. I mean, I'd been at this job like 2 weeks.
Right.
I took a sip and I went, oh, crap. This isn't too bad. I think I can manage this. Now, I don't know. There probably wasn't a whole lot in the cup, but it took me probably, 4 hours to stomach that down. But I liked it. So I wanted to know what it was. And believe it or not, it was Firestone and Robertson's TX.
Okay.
They're blended whiskey. So fast forward, I go buy a bottle. I'm still drinking it with a ton of ice. And over time, I just gradually started putting less and less ice into it until I was drinking it neat. And then I was like, I want to try something else. And so naturally, I just jumped straight to Scotch. Because,
as one does. As one does.
Well, part of it is I think it had to do with the second Anchorman was coming out. And so we were going to do a Scotch party. Okay. And all of my friends, I mean, we weren't big whiskey drinkers. And I was just getting into it. But the idea was everybody was going to bring a bottle so we could try it, a bottle share, which I didn't even know that was a thing at the time. So we could try something and figure out what we like and what we don't like. Well, the bottle I bought was Oban 14.
Okay. Great bottle.
I mean, not knowing anything about it, but I just jumped into it because I was like, oh, I recognize that somehow. Right. Well, then something happened. The weather, it got an ice storm or something. And so we ended up canceling the party, didn't do it. So the only thing I had was this one bottle of Scotch. All right. So I opened it, drank it. I don't know. And then I was on a Scotch kick for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try. I was like, I want to try. I really liked. Kept going back to that Texas. I want to try other Texas whiskey. Well, then I realized it really broke my heart whenever I found out that wasn't a Texas whiskey. I was like, what do you mean it's not? And what do you mean it has neutral grain spirit in it? I don't understand what this means.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it was very disheartening. So I did find, but then I got into bourbon. But funny enough, I got into Texas bourbon long before I got into Kentucky bourbon.
Really? Okay.
And then I did go on into Elijah Craig 12 kick for a while. That was one of my go-tos. But then I kept coming back to these Texas whiskeys. And I don't even remember the first bourbon that it was. So that was all that started in 2014. Fast forward to this time, 2017. It was it was South by Southwest of 2017. I was at a networking event and started talking to a guy, and we started talking about whiskey. And the question got posed: could we do an event with just Texas whiskey? I was like, I don't know. I'll get back to you. It was this idea that I had, and I wanted to do it on my own, so I didn't bring it to the owner of the company that I worked for, and I just kind of sat on it. And finally found some investment into it. And so September of 2017, I quit my job. We founded, me and a business partner founded two companies, our event planning company and the festival. And then March of 2018, held the first one, almost a year to the day. We've been going every year. So this will be our 7th year coming up in April. So it's been a journey, let me tell you. And I learned a lot from that first one as a guy who just liked whiskey and thought he knew about what whiskey was, to, oh crap, I knew nothing about what whiskey was or how the industry works or anything like that. I just knew how to do events. And so it's been an interesting journey. But I just kind of really was like, I like whiskey. I can do this. I know how to do an event. Sure, let's throw an event.
Right.
It just
should be easy.
And everything's it just kind of took off like a wildflower after that.
I can see that. And those of y'all who haven't been to Texas Whiskey Festival, but let alone any whiskey festival, behind the scenes, and Jay, we can get into that as well. Behind the scenes, it is a madhouse of trying to put fires out just to make sure that everybody gets whiskey. I mean, I remember, I think it was 2 years ago when we went, it was so hot that they were having to ice the whiskey because it was literally 90 degrees coming out, and like people were getting drunk like that because like the whiskey was just stinking hot.
That was 2 years ago. We had to do the event in May. It's usually always in April or March, but we try to do April.
Mm-hmm.
But so the venue is Star Hill Ranch, which will be our 6th year out there. We did the first one at the Bob Bullock History Museum, but we outgrew it year 1.
Right.
And so we moved. Well, so we held the year that COVID happened. The festival happened was the Saturday before the world shut down. I remember it was a Saturday because it was in March, and so it was a Saturday of that South by, and so Friday night South by they canceled South by, and I'm on every kind of social platform going, we're still doing it. Whiskey kills germs, whatever, whatever. Still didn't know the severeness of what the pandemic was about to be, and so we got lucky. That, and then so the year actually when we were in COVID, it was a down thing, and we reimagined it, did mini sessions, and you did your quarantine and the whole thing. But because of COVID, they had so many events canceled that when I went to go book it, find a date for that year that we had to do it was either May or like January 5th, and I was like, well, I guess we're going to do May,
right?
And if that happens again, I might be doing January 5th. That was so miserably hot.
It was hot.
But it was still, everybody still had a good time. It
was a good time.
We went through over a pallet of bottled water. I think we went through a pallet and a half of bottled water. And I don't know how many, there's like 2,000 bottles on the pallet or something like that. I don't know. It's ridiculous. But it will be in April this year. Should usually more moderate weather, very enjoyable.
Right. And I mean, dress appropriately. Obviously, check the weather beforehand. If it might be warm, but it shouldn't be super hot. Last year, it was perfect. I think it was great weather. So we got that to look forward to. Obviously, we're getting some temperate climate here and there, so it's kind of strange. And we still have one more freeze to go through before we get into spring. So
I hope not, man. What that'll do to
I hope not either. But I haven't even started in the garden yet because I'm like, I'm not going out there until we get that last freeze because
you can't. Legitimately, you can't yet.
Absolutely. Not that I'm a big gardener, but the little bit that I do. My wife loves to can and stuff, and so she loves the cucumbers, the tomatoes, the things like that, the jalapenos, just the basics. I tried to do corn, I tried to do potatoes, all that other stuff. It never worked for us. It was crazy.
I haven't gardened once, but my wife loves to plant flowers, and so that's where we're at.
Yeah, it's the same thing. And like all of our, because we had that freak freeze a month and a half ago or whatever, and like all of her plants died. She had them even in here in the shed, and I had the heater going, but all of her plants died. Like she's so devastated from it. But such is life, as they say. So, but yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the most of the people that are listening to this podcast. They know that I'm a Texas whiskey lover and talk about Texas whiskey. I haven't done a full-on episode of Texas whiskey, like going into the different categories and stuff, which would be, we can get into that. But I did one on what to look for when you go to the liquor store, Texas edition. Because like you were saying, the Firestone and Roberts, when they first came out, It was some sourcing and some, there was some things going on. And so I'm just trying to help people. If they want a Texas whiskey, this is what they need. So walk us into the Texas Whiskey Trail a little bit.
Yeah, so the Texas Whiskey Association, which was formed in the fall of 2019, by a group of distilleries that were upset with people, adopting the Texas brand without it being made in the state. So they created a program called the Certified Texas Whiskey Program. And to be a part of the association, you have to be making at least one whiskey that is made grain to glass, so that means you mill it, mash it, ferment it, distill it, age it, bottle it, proof it, the whole 9 yards within the state. The grains don't have to come from the state, but the entire process has.
Right.
There's a couple of different ways that distillers are doing it. For example, Wilson Valley Mercantile put a sticker. They have an additional sticker on it that says Certified Texas Whiskey. Others, if I can find one really easily, have, like this one from Shire Distilling in Houston, have it built into the label. So sometimes it may be an additional sticker. Sometimes it may be on the label. A lot of times on the back part of the label. So that's one way. If you see it Certified Texas Whiskey, it was made in Texas and it is a Texas whiskey.
Right.
But there are distilleries that are not part of the association or trail. We're working on that, but are still making a grain to glass whiskey. So it's also really important to look at the back of the label and say, where does it distilled in, and that kind of thing, right? So, but if you see the Certified Texas Whiskey sticker or on the label, 100% it was made in Texas. We verified that, and so that's a really safe bet. So the association did that, and then in spring of 2019, they launched the Texas Whiskey Trail at the festival as a way to encourage people to visit the distilleries that are making this grain to glass whiskey. And so currently, give or take, because we're adding some, I think we're at 30 something. I'm going to give you that 30 something on the trail. We have an app which will allow you to collect points for visiting. Look, it's an app. We launched it a year ago. There's still some things that we're working through. So it's not perfect, but we're working on it. So all the feedback we get is helpful. But the app does allow you to see the points, see the distilleries you've been to, has a map that you can check out, events, and where the distilleries are, get directions, that kind of thing. So it's very helpful from that standpoint. There is, you can just go to texaswhiskeytrail.com, get information about that, what the points are, how to, go sign up to be a member, and then you'll get, when you download the app, you'll have the credentials to get into the app. So it's a great opportunity to experience some distilleries that are making whiskey grain to glass and supporting local, which is obviously important, and which is what we're about doing, right?
Absolutely.
So, great program. If you are concerned about whether it's a Texas whiskey or not, Certified Texas Whiskey sticker, look for it, find it, drink it.
Absolutely. And so that's really, and the fact that there's 30 something distilleries on the trail as of right now, that's a big deal for Texas. 10 years ago there was 3. No, but like it's so cool. It's so cool to see all of these new distilleries popping up, and they're not the cool thing about Texas whiskey, which I hope it's like this in every area, is they're not trying to compete. Obviously, you're competing for shelf space and stuff like that, but they're not trying to compete. Like, you go to these festivals and be around them when they're around each other. They know each other. They're friends. They're egging each other on. They're raising everybody up. And that's what's really cool about this community. I can only speak for this community, but it's really enlightening to me, and I'm sure it is to you, putting on like the festival and stuff. I'm sure that really hits you hard.
I will tell you, where it was in 2018 to what we're seeing now has been incredible. Not that these guys didn't talk. together, but we're seeing so much more of it now. Back in 2019, so continuing my journey a little bit, because this will feed into where we're going.
Absolutely.
After the first festival, I met a guy named Daniel Whittington. I had discovered the SOM program, and so I reached out, I emailed, and he was like, I've been meaning to talk to you. It's like, oh, okay. The tribe wasn't a thing yet. The vault wasn't as big as it was. It was growing, but it wasn't as big as it was. I mean, this is back whenever the vault was still in the old vault.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crowded barrel, they had one barrel in there. No tasting room. There was one barrel in there. Anyway, so I meet him. We start talking, and he's like, all right, you should totally do the class. I was like, okay, well, I'll do the class. And, but during that meeting, I was like, Daniel, I want to do a blend of Texas whiskey. And he was like, well, how about this? If you can get them all on board, we'll release it through our distillery for you. I was like, really? That's great, because I don't have a distillery. This is fantastic.
Right.
But he was like, if you can get them on board. Well, that was April. Finally, by August, I had 3 of them on board. Thank you, Jared Hempstead, for being the first to say yes, followed by Robert and then Ty from Andalusia.
Great people.
But we got together that August and blended. And at the festival in 2019, we released the first blend of Texas whiskeys ever.
Yep.
And it was still my favorite one out of all the ones we've done. Don't get me wrong, they're all nice, but that one, and it sold out in a month and a half, 2 months. We didn't have a lot of it. But I say all that because that whole concept of, if you can get them on board, we will do it.
Right.
Getting people to collaborate now and them talking, they're already doing it. Like, they're doing it across things. They're always interacting. The night before the festival, I do a thing called the Distillers Dinner, and it's just for them, and it's just an industry thing, but it's us hanging out, and it really is kind of like a reunion of sorts. Everybody's doing their thing, and I saw it again when we went to Kentucky for the American Whiskey Magazine Awards. I got to tag along as Iron Root was going to win some awards, Lone Elm, 1845, Balcones, and just the fact that the Balcones crew showed up, the licorices were, so excited to hang out and interact. And then, even with the 1845, everybody was just so happy to hang out and interact. And yeah, I think that's incredible. I can't speak for other, states and their industries, but I do find it pretty impressive and incredible every time I get to see it.
Absolutely. And just the fact that, and the fact that they wanted to collaborate together and blend their whiskey that they could send to market and make good money on. They wanted to blend it with somebody else's whiskey and make a totally different whiskey. It's like, yeah, that's cool. Let's do that. Like, the fact that they wanted to do that, it's just a big deal. And
but you said a very important thing. They're like, oh, that's cool. Let's do that. And that's what these guys are all about. I mean, look, they have to make their day-to-day products. They do. But at the same time, they get a chance to experiment and create something new or fun.
Right.
They're all about pushing the boundaries and what can we do and where can we explore this? Can we try this? What will this do? Well, we don't know, but let's give it a try anyways.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things I love about the Texas whiskey industry is their creativity and their willingness to push boundaries.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just crazy. And then obviously then you have all of the, all the weird finishes that everybody is doing now. And I feel like Texas personally was in the forefront of that because they were like, dude, we can't keep it in this barrel for this long. We need to put it in a secondary use barrel. Like, it's getting over oaked. We got to do something with it. So I feel like Texas was kind of forefronting that for a little bit. And then Kentucky kind of caught up with us, but I don't know. I mean, it's really cool to see and to be in my little niche a part of, and like to see the camaraderie of all the distilleries. So yeah, that to me is really it's a really cool thing.
outside of single malts, I mean, Scotland's been doing barrel finishing for, longer than anybody. But outside of the single malt space, I would be in agreement that I think Texas was really pushing that with other spirits, rye especially. I mean, you look at Still Austin, the number of things that they finished their rye in, right? Or Milam and Green's rye finished in a port barrel. Rye's been really something, and then bourbons here and there. Mm-hmm. But I would say outside of single malts, Texas really has been experimenting with barrel finishings. I mean, I know it's one of my favorite things to do. Like, honestly, it's how the whole Tejas collaboration series got started, which, for those that don't know, it is a collaboration series that I do with different distilleries from across the state, wanting to showcase what they can do. And so for the Tejas is an old Caddo word that means friend or ally. It's also Spanish for Texas. And so the whole idea is that I'm working with my friends. The whiskey and the wood are becoming allies, and then we want you to share it with friends. I mean, that's kind of the whole full circle of it. And I got a couple here. Both of these are actually available. I'm not going to show you the ones that aren't available anymore because that would just not be fair. Okay, I can't show you the full label because there's a sticker on there that's not supposed to be there. But one from Modisette and Sons. Now, this one's a fun one because it is a single malt. We finished it in brandy barrels. Okay. The brandy barrels came from Andalusia, which held their original orange muscat brandy.
Okay, that was a good one.
Yeah, so the whiskey ends up having like orange creamsicle pie.
Oh,
to it.
Why do I not have that in my collection, Lord?
You can actually get it online and have it shipped to your house.
Okay, I'll do that.
You can get it from the festival website or Modisette and Sons website, but that's a fun one. And then the other one that's available right now is this one's only available at the distillery. Shire Distilling in Houston.
Right.
They haven't released their rye yet, but we took their rye and put it into a heavy dunder rum barrel from what was High Rye, now Island Getaway, right, and aged it, and it is a super funky, like you can smell the rum and the.
Oh wow!
But you still taste the rye. It's I'm gonna have that next section. So
okay, awesome.
But no, it's anyways. Those are a couple. I think we're gonna, fingers crossed, we're gonna release a new one at the festival in April. Awesome. That's with Giant Texas Distilling. And it's their rye whiskey that we've aged in or finished in sweet vermouth barrels.
Oh, please.
From Spain. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's quite fun. But that's kind of what I was going back to, this creativity and these willing to push boundaries. I find these barrels, and like one at Ranger Creek right now is a Spanish orange wine barrel. And they were like, sure, why not? I call these guys up and I'm like, hey, can we do this project? And they're like, sounds fun. Let's do it. I'm like, okay, great. Like, yeah, that's the kind of thing that like these guys are willing to do. And so I think that's it says a lot about, they're still trying to define and figure out what it is Texas whiskey is to them.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, look, we're 15 years old as an industry.
That's a baby step.
A lot to learn and a lot that and a lot to figure out. But my God, what we've accomplished in 15 years, what they've accomplished in 15 years has been incredible.
No, I think you can say we as well, because, and this is not to toot your horn or anything, but you've been integral in some of these things with the whole Tejas collaboration, because I know I got to hang out with you at Andalusia when you were talking about their Tejas release, and it was phenomenal. Released in what, tequila barrels, or
it was their triple distilled, and we did it, and it was finished in mezcal.
I knew it was something like that.
Oh no. Okay, so next time we're there, it's still got a ways, I think, but at the same time we took Revenant New Make, which is their Irish peated single malt, and put the New Make in mezcal barrels. So it'll be 100% maturation in mezcal barrels. And let me tell you, it is fantastic. It's a year and a half old, and it is fantastic.
Cannot wait. I mean, I can't sing their praises over there enough. They're just, and they don't care. That's the thing. They're like, we will do whatever, and it doesn't matter. Moose has his dunder pit in the back that he wants everybody to smell all the time.
Dude, and don't.
It stinks. It's nasty.
Don't do it. Just Moose, if you're watching this, love you, buddy. But
yeah, absolutely. No, and then they just released. I was able to pick it up at the chili cook-off. Which I lost. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
You didn't repeat?
Huh?
No repeat?
No repeat. Hey, I blame it on the fact that I still had chemo mouth and I couldn't taste it because 2 people told me it was a little salty. And I'm like, man, I had to over-season it, get me to taste it. I should have had a taster there, tasted it for me.
Okay, anyway, that's fair and valid. Look, if your taste buds are off, it's hard.
Absolutely. So my good buddy won, Marshall from Rough Spirits. He won, and he's a great guy. So more power to him. But they picked up the Rickhouse collection, which was it was Imperial Stout that they distilled or something. Oh my God, so amazing! It was such a good bottle. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Andalusia. Okay, so
whiskey, and so that's kind of
it is whiskey. It is whiskey. So, talk us through the sommelier program. What did you get out of that, and what did you what'd you think? Because I people get mixed reviews.
Fantastic program. I think it's a fantastic program. I've done it 3 times now. What I got out of it, man, I think that is, I don't know that I can necessarily put it all into words because there's a lot. It's like, especially level 1, it's pretty intense because you're walking into this thing and you don't really know what to expect.
Right.
There's a vast, and you're doing this, there's a ton of information coming at you. Plus, you're learning about what internal markers are and how you identify taste and understanding that there's no universal, like, this is what this tastes like. There's general concepts, but everybody's got to find their own version of what that kind of is, and where you're identifying, like I said, internal markers and mapping and that kind of thing.
Right.
Like, that kind of concept was just really like, oh wow, okay. What do I do with this now? Right. And so, and then the history of whiskey, so helpful and informative. And, I do think it's really hard to talk about whiskey without understanding what's happened before, right? In understanding, who's done what and how it's been done. And then if you understand how things have been done, then all of a sudden you appreciate how somebody else is doing it. And you're like, oh, okay, I got it. And you start to understand differences and things like that. And the other thing I've learned after, going through 2 and 3 it's a muscle, and you have to work it. You have to practice. Like, yes. You have to taste things, and you have to take notes, and you have to do it blind as well. So you can understand,
I have blinds in bags that people have sent me that I need to do, with little key cards, like just for palate recognition and stuff like that. Like, it's so crazy. Continue. I'm sorry.
But notebook.
Yes.
Notes. Like, it just, it also has cooking recipes in there, so it's not just all taste.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You got to get that chili right for next year.
That's right. But no, it is a muscle, and you have to work it, and and that's a conversation I have. So as I do whiskey tastings for people and things like that, they're like, "Oh my God, like, you just know that?" It's like, no, I spent a lot of time. I've read not only the Whiskey Somm program, which was, without it, I don't know that I could have figured out a lot of the internal marking and things like that. And also Chris Maddock, God, learning to write from him, like that, it's intense, it's brutal, but it's made me a better writer on how I describe things and how I talk about things in general. But I've also, like you, I've read a ton of books on whiskey. I continuously read books on whiskey. I'm continuously doing blind tasting, taking notes, and talking to people and figuring out things that I don't know. It's an ongoing, continuing educational program that if you just, you take the class and you stop, a year from now, you're starting from scratch. Like it's a muscle. And the more you work it, the better it gets. And so, you've got to be intentional about it. And that's one of the things I've learned with it, that if you're going to take it seriously, it's a great program.
Yes.
And it will teach you a lot, and it will continue to teach you a lot. And with having access to the vault as a library of resource, if you're in the area, to be able to, yes, they have a ton of whiskey and there's some really great stuff in there, but if you really have a question and you want to compare some things and understand and learn your palate, it's a great place to spend a little bit of time with, especially if you can do, I've found if you can do it with another somm, even better, because now you're able to bounce ideas and you're not doing it in a black hole. And I found I learn better that way for myself.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
but I think it's a great program. Out of that, I've done several classes at Wizard Academy outside of the somm program.
Right.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on the campus.
No. And that's one of the things, like, once you get into that whole world, like, let's say you go do the somm program, which we still have level 4 to go. And I don't know if I'm going to make it, man. That one's hard anyway, but then you go back and you're like, well, now I want to be a better writer. I want to be able to do things better, because like one of the reasons I got into it, and I said this on a past podcast when I was talking to Mitch Weddle, I said one of the reasons I got into it is because of this. Like, I want to be a better speaker. I want to be able to talk better. I want to be able to have it go from here to pen or type it out or whatever a lot easier, because it gets jumbled up a lot, not just with chemo, but like it just gets jumbled up, and I know what I'm trying to say, but I can't put it in words. And that's one of the things that the marketing part of the school can help you with, is getting your words on the paper or out your mouth the way that they need to come out. And that's one of the things that I got a lot from it, because I was very introverted, didn't want to talk about it. I was just, sitting there drinking my whiskey, no big deal. But then after Psalm 1, I was like, holy crap, this is a thing. And like, okay, I get it now. I get why people further educate themselves. And that's why I have 10,000 books right there, just, and they're all whiskey distilling, all types of stuff. Because I want to know every gamut from beginning, from what the grain is to what's in the glass, So exactly. It's really cool. It makes you intrigued in other things. Then you start talking about horticulture and stuff like that, and you're like, holy crap, am I literally reading a book about how to grow corn or something? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's once you go down that rabbit hole, if you're truly into it, it's never ending. Is not. But it's so fascinating, and I found it helped in other areas, especially the internal marketing and like flavor identification thing. It's helped with my cooking.
Yes.
Because cooking is my hobby now. I guess I love to cook. Okay. And I think it's helped with that, because now I'm identifying flavors better and understanding, like, okay, I'm paying attention to that as I taste something, it's like, okay, do I need to add this? I'm like, okay. All right, that's what I'm tasting. Okay, no, you know what? Let's add a little bit of this. Let's do a little bit of that, right? So I think it's helped with that. It's helped with my wine. It's helped with cocktails in general, making cocktails because understanding what the whiskey is helps me understand how it works with the other ingredients and so forth. And I think it's just that the identification of flavors, I think, has just helped in general.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to, where do you see? Obviously, we got this year's Texas Whiskey Fest coming up. The trail is busting at the seams with distilleries on it now. Well, actually, let's go back to that. Talk to us about the different regions of Texas whiskey, because it's kind of like Scotland in its own certain way. There is regions to Texas. Do you believe that?
Well, I believe that we have it broken up into regions because there's only so much you can travel in a day while visiting distilleries.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't think we're old enough to know whether Texas the regions have distinct flavors. Based on just the concept of understanding what terroir is and things like that, you would theorize that yes, we could have different flavors coming out of different parts of Texas, but we don't know that yet, and I don't know that we will for a while. Is everybody's, some of the craft distilleries started off at 25-gallon barrels, and then now they're at 53, and Balcones place specially made, I don't even know how big that I can crawl into it and take a nap in barrel.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as people are experimenting until and I don't know if Texas will ever consistently settle in on this is what barrel size we're using and things like that.
Right.
But until then, and we're constantly changing until everybody's kind of doing things the same way, I don't know that we'll be able to identify a distinct terroir flavor from a region. Now, the trail has it broken up into the north, the hill country, the south, and the Gulf Coast, simply for ease of traveling. This is a self-paced trail. You must do it on your own. You don't get on a bus and go do this. Like you're traveling from distillery to distillery. And Texas is just a really damn big state.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it will take you, people have done it in a week, but man, it's a busy week and a lot of driving. So it really is self-paced. So we do have it broken down, like I said, into the different regions so that you can plan your travel based on if you're going to be in the DFW area. Here's the North Trail. Here are the distilleries there. Okay, great. I have this free time. Which ones are close to me and that kind of thing so that I can go visit these things. So that's why we set it up that way. Not necessarily from a terroir perspective. Will that ever change? Very well could. But again, time will tell, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So so those are the regions as it relates to the trail. It's really about travel convenience more than anything.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that Iron Root tastes a lot different than Shire. Just saying. But obviously that's distillation practice. That's, maturation practice. I get all that, but
it is. Now, talking with Robert, though, he will tell me, because I said something, he's like, oh, no, the dew points, the elevation and everything at where we're distilling. And I'm like, okay, I get all that too. Yes. But yes, I can tell you Iron Root tastes different than anybody.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, right. Would you not agree with that?
I 100% agree.
I mean, same thing as Balcones. There's a reason there's a Balcones house flavor. Nobody tastes like Balcones, right?
Right.
So I don't think those two things have anything to do with where they're located.
It's just their process.
Exactly. Where they take their cuts, the stills, the whole 9 yards, right? Yeah. All of it together. And as you know, there's so many factors that go into the flavor of whiskey.
Right.
It's astonishing.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. No, I mean, it's really fun to see it though. Because like and this is the thing that I told myself this year. I am bad at being a whiskey hermit, I guess you would say. Like, I don't get out. I go to Andalusia because Moose is like, hey, come up here and help me run the still. It's fun. Okay, I go to Andalusia. I go to Crowded Barrel every once in a while. Like, I haven't been to Treaty Oak. Like, it's literally on the way. I haven't been to Treaty Oak. This will be, that podcast will be out after this one. Devil's River. Like, I haven't been to Devil's River. Why? It's like an hour away from me. You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy. So that's my goal for 24 is to get out and get to some distilleries and do some stuff.
Get on the trail, man. Visit the trail.
Visit the trail.
No, I agree. It's a hard thing to do, though. I mean, even for me, like I visit them because I'm working on things with them and all of that. Right. But in my spare time, I don't, outside of work stuff, I don't really visit distilleries. Like, it's not, I have, kid activities. I have my wife and responsibilities at home that I need to do and things like that. And so even all of the events, I try to make as many of the events that, like I couldn't make the chili cook-off, which that's fine. I was in Mexico on a beach, fine. But normally I would try to make that. But there are events that like I want to go to, but I'm like, there's just so many. Like there's so many things to do.
Absolutely.
And so again, you have to like it's hard to make everything, but I try. And it's just but it's a lot. I mean,
it is a lot.
And so, I mean, power to you. Get on the trail, do what you can. But I would say it's also hard to leave whenever you have whiskey at home. It's really hard to leave whiskey at home. Because then you don't have to worry about driving. You don't have to worry about anything. Right. I spend an hour getting there, and then an hour back. You're like, or I can just sit here.
Yeah. Or I can just be like here, drinking the whiskey. I could have 2 more pours in that time. So, it's like.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge. But I'm with you. I need to be better about visiting distilleries outside of just project stuff. I mean, there's distilleries that I haven't visited in Texas. And I know that's really weird for me to say.
No.
I feel like I should have visited almost every distillery in the state at this point based on what I do. And yet, I have not. Some of it is, God, it is a haul. Like there's some in the DFW area that if I'm going to go, I need to spend. I'm getting hotel rooms. I'm doing this because you can't do it in a day trip, and that's just that's a big commitment, right?
It really is.
And so it's Texas. Texas is tough to visit all of them, and which is why, which is one of the reasons we did break it up into regions so that it was convenient. People could understand, okay, these are the ones in my area. I'm going to visit all the ones in my area. And then if I know I'm going to be in San Antonio for a work trip or whatever, then, okay, you know what? I'm going to try to hit up these where I can. And so, get out there.
Yeah. And I mean, because like, if you think about it, like I say all the time, whiskey's happening around you. It's just you going to find it. I was, there's Fierce Whiskers out of Austin. I've never been there. There's, Beautiful. I know. I've heard, and like I go to Austin, I go to San Antonio, I go to all these places. And then, I got an invite to go to Shire, which is right next to now. Their new spot is right next to Yellow Rose. I'm like, I could go do
Giant, not Yellow Rose, Giant.
Giant. Okay. They're by Giant. Where's Yellow Rose at then?
Yellow Rose is in Houston, but they're not far. But their new facility is right down the road from Giant.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I was in the wrong spot. Anyway.
No, you're all good. But I just they're great, and they're great people. But what I will tell you now, not everybody on the trail is going to be at the festival, but we are going to have a ton. If you want to try a lot of whiskey in one place, the festival is a good place to do that. Just saying.
That's a great segue. And I will tell you this, as a festival goer, and I try to make it hard in my books every year it comes up. I try to make sure that's the thing we're doing. My wife hates whiskey. Like I've tried her so many times to get into whiskey. She is like, I want a gin or a vodka or something like that, or nothing. Like she's a mocktail type, but like, it's really cool to see her there. And she's like, can I bring a friend, just so they can laugh at everybody, that's there. But it's a really great time, and the distilleries that are there, and I'm sure there's going to be even more this year. Is that correct?
No, I mean, we're going to be in the 30s, final count to be determined, which is where we've been in the 30s the past couple of years. Okay. We have some new people coming, some people that aren't able to make it this year due to scheduling conflict and that kind of thing, but we'll be there. Now, we do offer a DD ticket, a designated driver ticket, for those that don't like whiskey, because, again, now, my wife's helping run it or work it, so she doesn't have to have a ticket, but yes, I've never been able to get her into whiskey either, and as much as I've tried. And her mother is Scottish, and she still doesn't like it. But it's fine. It means I don't have to worry about it disappearing in my house.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so no, we do have a designated driver ticket that if you have a spouse, even if it's the reverse, whatever, that doesn't drink, you can get in and listen to the live music, have some food trucks, but walk around with them, enjoy. Look, Star Hill Ranch is just a really cool, lively atmosphere. It's an old West town. The community, I would say it's very welcoming. Like you know, you walk in there, you're going to find friends fast. It's just nobody's snobby, at least that I've witnessed. And if I do, I try to not let them buy a ticket again. You know, and then obviously we have plenty of whiskey, but we really do try to create a welcoming and just lively atmosphere that's fun and engaging for people to try whiskey and just, you know, overall have a good time. We are, so I know for this year, we are introducing something new.
Okay.
We're going to have 2 panels, speaking panels. We're going to do one is going to be kind of the history and origins of Texas whiskey, like how it got started, where it currently is, and kind of the future.
Okay.
And then the second one we're going to do, it's an amazing panel called around women in whiskey, and discussing their achievements, their struggles. It's all women. It's just amazing. I'm so excited for that panel. All the women on there are just dynamic and just badasses. So, but we're going to do that, and that's going to happen during the festival. And there'll be some pours that you get to have while you're listening to the panel, so you're not missing out as you're walking around. But we wanted to do something to kind of really just spread more light on Texas whiskey. And then, I know there's some people that are like, "Oh, women whiskey, we're tired of talking about it." But guys, it's still like, man, there's some badasses, and they're not always getting the love and credit that they deserve, and they should. And so we're going to do those 2 panels. We're dueling pianos with the entertainment, cigars, food trucks. You know, if you haven't been, you know, Hill can tell you all about it some other time.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a great time, and it's a afternoon, an evening, whatever you want to call it. It's not like it takes a lot. I would say get a hotel close by. You need to have already picked that because they sell out fast. I tried to get one last year right there in Bee Cave. They gone. I had to end up going, 20 miles down the road to get a hotel and pay twice as much for it. But it's just one of those things that happens. But it's just a really good time, and there's a bunch of what they call personalities there. People that are in the whiskey community, and just people that you've probably seen on YouTube or Instagram or whatever are going to be there. It's a pretty hot spot. And obviously the pours. Well, here's another thing that I wanted to talk about. And I saw this personally, and I don't know if it's because of your leadership or not, but I saw 2 distilleries, unnamed. I don't remember which ones they were at this point. Refused service to somebody because they felt like he had too much, and that to me was a really sobering thing. That's funny, but that was during the hot year, when people were drinking it with and it was super hot, and like they weren't drinking enough water or whatever, and like they basically said, bro, you need to chill out and take a break. And so like everybody's looking out for each other, so they're not going to let you, like if they see that you're getting a little inebriated, they're going to be like, no, you need to hold off, because whiskey's pouring. They're pouring whiskey. So
we're very, no, that's part of it. Is through the conversations I've had with the distillers that are there every year, we've been very clear. This is about a tasting, not a shot bar. And so if they're not able to taste it, or you don't think that they are, you have the right to refuse. I give them all that. It's up to their discretion. Basically treat it like a bar.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
If they come in and you don't feel like they are, then you have the right to refuse them. And if they have an issue, just send them to one of our staff and we will take care of it. I mean, when we have security on site, we have that. I will tell you, outside of the COVID year, the small batch. Now, the hot year, we had a few more, but it still wasn't like the number of people that at the end of the night that I have security going, don't let them get in a car, is very minimal. Mm-hmm. Like it really is not a drunk fest of people. You have the handful of people that overdo it with themselves. Right. For the most part, it really is a crowd that is there to try things, which is why we sell a designated ticket. Because even if you're not trying to booze it up, you have that much whiskey, you still shouldn't be driving.
Absolutely.
We always encourage a designated driver or ride share. You can get Ubers and Lyfts out there. Now I'll tell you, every year I send them an email saying, hey, we're doing this event this day. If you wouldn't mind alerting your drivers that there's fares. Years they do it, some years they do it. So some years it's easy, some years it's hard. But you still can get them. To his point, hotels, there are plenty in the area. The one in the Hill Country Galleria is the Sonesta. They used to run a shuttle to and from. I don't know if they do anymore. I tried a partnership with them one year and it backfired like crazy. So I haven't tried it again. But they used to run a shuttle to and from back and forth, so you could get there without worrying about it. But now I will tell you a secret that I learned. If you can't get an Uber from the venue and the Sonesta has the shuttle, get on the shuttle to the Sonesta and then get an Uber from the Sonesta.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't done that, but I've heard that. So good little festival tip there for you. Insider tip.
Yeah.
But no, it's anyways, I appreciate you letting me talk about it. It's a passion. It's something I enjoy putting on.
Absolutely.
Something that I think if you're interested in whiskey and you're interested in Texas whiskey, you'd be crazy to miss it. Because it is where it is all Texas based. You won't find a Scotch there. You won't find Kentucky bourbon there unless, they're bottling it in Texas and doing. Now that's the other thing is I do allow people that are bottling it in Texas at the festival, as long as they're transparent about their process. And Absolutely. At least one part of that process is happening in Texas. Right. So Nine Bandit's a great example. I love those folks. Those are great guys. MGP, they don't shy about it. They're not shying away from it. They have their own little private spring where they get their water from, but it additionally ages in Texas. They're proofing it with their Texas spring water, but they're also not calling it a Texas whiskey. They're calling it Nine Bandit whiskey, and just we're from Austin, Texas. And I'm like, all right, guys, y'all are being transparent. They'll tell you exactly what their process is. And for me, I'm okay with that. Right. I just want consumers to understand what they're drinking in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
So
I'm gonna throw it way off because you intrigued me with something that you said off camera, or it was on camera, off recording, because I just released. When this is out, it'll be released a couple of weeks probably. But I just released a whiskey and music podcast, and where I was talking about whiskeys and different musicians and how it affected their career and stuff like that. So I'm all into music, but of course my head is stuck in the early to late 90s. That's kind of where I grew up. So I grew up on the whole Pantera and that sort of vibe. Is that a big influence in your whiskey selection, like music in itself?
Ooh, okay, good call, good question. So no, I think more.
Sorry.
Yes, in a way. So depending on all right, good example. Does whiskey influence my music, or does music influence my whiskey choice?
There you go.
And I think it's kind of it's a combination of both. So the second year, 2019, the festival. So first year we had music's a big part of everything we do. Like I love music. Right. So the first year that we did the festival, Asleep at the Wheel played. I mean, Ray Benson. Really? In the lobby of the Bob Bullock History Museum. It was epic. Are you kidding me? Epic. Awesome. Asleep at the Wheel's playing, legendary Ray Benson. Epic. Wow. So year two, I'm a huge Radney Foster fan. Mm-hmm. Because I love listening to Radney Foster while I'm like over a glass of whiskey. He's a brilliant songwriter. He's got an amazing voice. But both of those years taught me is music's not the reason people show up to this event. it's the whiskey. So very few people stayed to listen to the music. And I was like, okay, that was a ton of money, by the way, to do that for not everybody paying attention. But I also learned how I like to listen to Radney is not standing up listening to him. I want to be sitting in my nice comfy chair, music on, and a glass of whiskey, just sitting back, with my feet propped up. And I was like, okay, all right, I need to rethink the entertainment that I have at the festival, because clearly I was picking artists that I wanted to listen to.
Right.
But the artists I listen to while I'm drinking whiskey aren't necessarily the artists that I want to stand up and listen to at a concert.
Right. Absolutely.
So, at the same time, I love having music on regardless of what I'm doing in the house. And so a lot of times we have music on, but then there are certain bands where like I only listen to them if I'm literally just sitting in a chair, relaxing and things like that. And then there's other bands I'm like, oh, if we're up and about, I may have whiskey, I may be playing pool.
Right.
Oh, listen to a completely different set of music. So music does influence, or what I'm doing influences the music of my choice, I guess. Right. But I believe music's a big part of how I can enjoy whiskey, or ways that I enjoy whiskey.
Right. Right. Because like I was saying in that episode that, like during the summer when it's hot and you're tired and you just want to sit down and have a drink, go sit on the front porch or whatever. I'm mainly into, being from Texas, I'm into Texas country. I don't look like a Texas country person, but at the same time, that's what I'm into. Throw me some Cody Jinks on. I go sit on the front porch and, have a glass of whiskey. No big deal. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, normally for me, when I'm sitting in the house and I'm having a glass of whiskey, I'm watching a show. I'm not really listening to music. So it makes it, so then I'm like, well, what would I listen to? And I'm like, it would probably be some background music, like nothing to interfere with it. So like it really brings up a whole nother thing. And I guess that's why there's podcasts and shows and YouTube channels all about whiskey and music, because like Bourbon Turntable and places like that, where they're like literally doing a side by side with this whiskey goes with this music, and so like I haven't really put a whole lot of thought in it until I did that podcast, and I was like, okay, well, this is a big deal, because I love music. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but I don't incorporate it in my whiskey life as much as I should, like you're saying.
No, you said something. This whiskey goes with this music. I think I've inherently done that without thinking about it, because like I don't drink. I say I should. I don't. Rarely do I drink single malt if I'm listening to like Radney Foster music. It's bourbon.
It's bourbon, absolutely.
But I'm trying to think, are there artists where I'm like, oh no, that's a good scotch that I'm pouring? And I'm trying to think. I'm sure there are.
Yep.
But from a music perspective, I'm also a big Sinatra fan.
I was just fixing to say that.
But I don't always drink Jack.
Absolutely.
I like Jack. Don't get me wrong, I like Jack. And the Sinatra Jack, if you've ever had a chance to do it, the special edition that they did, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And now that, I had a bottle once and got home. I was like, looked at my wife, I was like, I'm playing Frank Sinatra while I drink this. She's like, yeah. Well, I didn't have my office, this kind of lounge that I'm in now. So I was sitting in our bar. Yes, we have an actual bar in our house. And I had it on playing. Our son gets home and he started talking to me, and I just ignore him. Well, he left. He's like, give him a moment. He's like, just give him a moment, because it truly was. I was like the Sinatra, Jack Daniels, and then Sinatra playing. It was a thing. I found joy in that moment. Mm-hmm. But I don't normally keep like Jack Daniels in my house a lot. I have it. I like it. I don't. It's nothing. Right. So I would say that actually I will drink scotch with listening to Frank.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't listen to jazz a lot or anything like that, but like
I love me some good jazz too.
Even like classical, which like my son in his school, they listen to a lot of classical music when they do like reading and stuff like that. So like I hear it, and so I'm like, yeah, this will be good with a really nice peaty, briny scotch. Like that's kind of how I put it at, or if you're listening to something like some house music or something, maybe it's a nice Irish or something like that. I don't know. It's just crazy. Anyway, I didn't mean to throw you off on that.
No, I love it. I love the
Right.
conversation, because now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, what is it? Like, is there certain songs where I instinctively, without thinking about it, pick a certain style of whiskey, or even not only a certain style, a very specific whiskey?
Yep.
And I don't know that I've ever truly kept track of it or thought about it. And now I know that every time like a song's on and I go to grab something, I'm be like, okay, am I grabbing this because it's just what I want, or is now I'm going to be thinking about it every time it happens.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty crazy. Like, cause when you look back at history, music and liquor go hand in hand. They're synonymous with each other, because they happened in the nightclubs where there were bars and there was people singing. And so there was constantly drinks being poured. And so like all of these people have, alcohol influence in their background, no matter what they are. Everybody from Johnny Cash to Bob Dylan, and I thought it would be really cool to do an episode, and I might do it about, the celebrity whiskeys that they have out now, and kind of diving into them and being like, are they legit? Or is it like, I hate to say it, is it like the Chris Stapleton Traveler that's just market fluff and it's crap and it's,
I haven't had it. Is it really just kind of
Okay. And I'm not trying to talk smack on it again, because I already did that once.
Sorry, that was me just asking an honest opinion.
No, it's okay. Basically what it is, it's the guy Wheatley from Buffalo Trace collaborated with Chris Stapleton to make a whiskey. They bottled 1792 Barton with a Canadian whiskey and made a blended whiskey. Probably Canadian Mist, since it's all owned by Sazerac, right? But anyway, so it's like, it's a blended, but like Chris Stapleton's like this whiskey guy. Like he talks about whiskey all the time. So like you would think it would be at least some Buffalo Trace, right? Like I could see that. Mm-hmm. It's not. They just bottled it. That's all they did, was bottle this whiskey for them. So it's kind of a lot of like up and over, and it's just transparency, like we talk about. But yeah, it's and so like it makes me think a little different about not Chris Stapleton, because obviously he doesn't care what I think, because he's doing amazing things. But like, at the same time, it's like, are these just like marketing ploys, or are they legit whiskeys? Like I've had a Heaven's Door a Bob Dylan collab thing, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty good whiskey. Yeah, it's sourced, and yeah, they're doing all this stuff to it, but like, it's pretty good whiskey. So, and he does have a hand in it. And the Metallica Blackened or whatever that they're doing, they actually have a hand in selecting the music that they play when it's in the Rick House. So I get it.
Yeah, the whole music in the Rick House thing, man, I gotta tell you,
I know. That's fluffy. It's pretty fluffy.
Look, I guess in theory, you're causing vibration, which is causing a wood interaction. And look, here's the problem that I have with it is, wasn't Dave Pickerel involved in that project?
Yes, he was.
And you can't, like, that guy is a legend.
Absolutely.
And so if he was involved in it, like, I have a hard time, like, saying it bonkers.
It's crap. Yeah.
But the whole, like, so I struggle with that one. But I will tell you, the one Blackened that I've had, it wasn't my flavor profile. Like It just wasn't my thing. Doesn't mean it was bad. It just wasn't my thing at all. But then again, like, I'm not a big George Dickel fan.
Absolutely.
So, but there's a ton of people that love it, and that's great. That's why there's whiskey, so many varieties. There's something for everybody, and not everything's for everybody. So, yeah, it just really gets it. Wasn't my thing. But yeah, the music thing, man, and the vibration, I don't know. We'll see. Like that just,
But you know something. Not to get off on this tangent. Now, I've heard from more than one person about George Dickel, and like if there's all these whiskey people that are like to George Dickel, I'm like, there's somebody likes them because they're huge. Like what is the thing? Like all the whiskey people that I know, which most of the whiskey people that I know have they're whiskey people, so they know whiskey. Like, what is it about Dickel that they don't like? The Flintstone vitamin part, or what? I don't know. Like, because I don't care for it. I've had multiple Dickels. Wow, I said that just now.
I'm pretty sure that's why they named the company what it was.
Absolutely. I've had quite a few. Nope. Anyway, I've had some offerings of theirs, and I wasn't intrigued by any of them. I know. I just keep digging that freaking hole.
Yeah, I know. No, I get it, but yes, no, it's a mass consumed product. It's inexpensive, and most of the people that are drinking it, I believe, are drinking it with Coke or Sprite or something like that. It's not a sipper. These aren't people. I worked with a lady once. Her drink was Dickel and Coke. That's what she drank.
Wow,
Dickel
really?
and Coke. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know anything about whiskey at the time. This was before I got into whiskey. And so I was like, all right, I just assumed that was a good thing. And then I got into whiskey, and I was like, I tried Dickel before I went through the SOM program and all that. And I was like, I won't buy this again, but that's fine. Just again, not even knowing anything about whiskey really at the time, I just knew I didn't like it. Didn't know why I didn't like it. I just knew it just didn't like the taste. And so, so I've never been a fan, but I've also never tried it with Coke. So I don't.
That's true. I mean, there is some whiskeys out there that are made for mixing. Period. So
they make great cocktails for all I know.
Absolutely. Like I feel personally that Crown Royal isn't made for drinking neat. It's made for a cocktail. It's a blended whiskey made for a cocktail. That's how I feel. Now, some people drink it neat.
Okay, so this is going to age me probably some, but I remember whenever Crown was thought of as expensive, and it was top shelf. Even at bars, like they had it on the top shelf, and oh my god, if you got the purple velvet bag, that was a thing.
Oh yeah,
and now I don't even know do they even still put it in the purple velvet bag?
I haven't bought Crown in years,
but it's definitely not on the top shelf anymore.
No, it's not. And something happened within the last 15 years maybe that has changed Crown Royal from being up here to down here. That's what I think. I don't know. I'd love to talk to him and talk about it, but I don't know.
But I remember whenever it was considered a premium whiskey. Now, even in any bar or restaurant, it's not a premium.
No, it's not. It's a well, if anything.
And I'm just like, wow. But growing up, if you were lucky enough, especially in college, right? If you were lucky enough to get a bottle of Crown, like you hit pay dirt.
Yes, you did.
You were living large.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you weren't drinking the Potter's Crown, which was $12. You drank the Crown Royal, which was $25.
Kentucky Deluxe, dude. I guess
Kentucky Deluxe, exactly. Yeah.
Oh god. Maybe that's why I didn't like whiskey. I don't know, but Jesus, that was terrible.
Yeah, you started off wrong.
It was. Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about good whiskey from Texas. You like Texas whiskey?
Yes, absolutely. So back to Texas. No. I think we're going to wrap it up right here.
Okay.
But I really appreciate everything. If you want to tell everybody where they can find you, your socials, the festival socials, stuff like that, so they can, and I'll make sure and link them in the comment below or whatever they. But go ahead.
So obviously, if you want to find information out about the festival, it's txwhiskeyfest.com. You can also just Google Texas Whiskey Festival. The festival socials are TX Whiskey Fest across all of them. Facebook, Instagram, everything. Mine Instagram is WJ Clements. And other than that, man, Randall, I appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed talking to you. I could talk all day about whiskey and music.
Absolutely. Me too. But stick on real fast. I want to talk to you. But guys, make sure, hold on. Let me put the banner up real fast. Good Lord. Look at this banner down that we have at the bottom. We got, make sure you follow Bad Motivator Barrels. Check out Z Smith Whiskey Mixology. And we have a Patreon going if you guys want to get onto that. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and everything that we do. And until next time, keep your spirits up. Thank you, Jake.